Nothing is going to change from having this conversation, but I felt like having the conversation nonetheless. Now, yesterday we had a Nintendo Direct based around the upcoming console, the Nintendo Switch 2, which is going to get released on the 5th of June. Now, this is a console that I'm personally interested in because I own the original Nintendo Switch and I purchased a significant amount of Nintendo Switch physical games because I just like having physical media, and I also like the portability of the console, and I like some of the exclusives that are on the console itself. It's just a very convenient console for me to have. It is a console that I use to play games with my kid, and it is just an overall good system from my personal experience with it. So naturally, I watched the presentation yesterday, and I thought it was a fairly enjoyable presentation. There were a couple of features that I'm not particularly interested in, like the mouse functionality of the Joy-Con. I feel like the light gun mode of the Joy-Con is far superior to using it as a mouse, but okay, whatever. There's also the fact that the microphone is on the console itself rather than it being on the controller, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And there's a couple of more things here and there that I'm not the biggest fan of, but overall, I'm thinking, it's a more powerful Switch. I like the original system. I have a bunch of games for the system, so therefore this is kind of like a no-brainer for me. Having said that, I see the presentation, I'm overall happy, and then we start looking into the prices. And that's where things start getting very, very interesting. Because you see, the console itself is going to be costing around $449, depending on where you live, because this is US prices right here. So $449 for the standard system. Then you have a bundle that comes with Mario Kart World, which makes sense because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think, is one of the most sold games for the original Nintendo Switch. I believe that the number of copies sold is somewhere north of 67 million copies for that one game, which makes sense. Mario Kart is a tremendously enjoyable game. It is a multiplayer game. It is a game that you can play with your family, with your friends, whatever. Has 4-player local co-op. It's just a fun experience to have all around. Absolutely. And Mario Kart World seems to be a great improvement on pretty much everything that previous Mario Karts did. There's also a couple of things that kind of remind me of Forza Horizon in terms of like the free roam modes and all of that stuff. Just sounds like tremendous fun. So the bundle, I kind of feel like, is going to be the thing that is going to sell the most because it is somewhat adequately priced. Now, these consoles are expensive, so $500 for a brand new Nintendo Switch, that's quite a lot, even though it comes with a game, all that stuff. $449, also expensive, but ultimately, I'm just like, I can kind of see these prices, although it definitely puts it out of reach of a lot of people. So I can kind of see most people accepting the price of the console. What I can't see is people accepting the price of the games. And this is not to mention if we start talking about regional pricing, where things also get even more interesting. Because you see, $449 somehow equates to 469 euros if you live in Portugal, which is like, oh, okay, so it's just 20 more euros. I kind of feel like that's not how currency works, but naturally there's going to be added taxes added in and all of that good stuff. So yeah, then it becomes 510 bones if you include the Mario Kart World. Again, these are not the prices that bother me too much, even though let's not mince words here. This is a tremendously expensive system. Now, whether or not the specs of the system are going to make it worthwhile, I do not know. But it is a very expensive system. But like I said, I am a fan of the original Switch. I'm willing to purchase the system at this price. That is my decision. That is whoever's decision it is to make the purchase at this price. That's up to them. But it is important to acknowledge that it is expensive. Far more expensive than it should be. But then we have a more interesting thing that some of you might not be aware of, which is the fact that in Japan, there is a cheaper version of the console that only utilizes Japanese version. Now, I've been told that this is because the yen is particularly weak right now, and therefore, Nintendo's a Japanese company, and they're like, okay, we're going to cut our users here in Japan some slack. But basically, we have a post here from my friend Gaijin Hunter who says they're releasing a Japan account, Japanese language only, so this means that the console is region locked, which that's like why do we still have region locked systems? Like, can we stop going backwards? Bro, region locked systems are the bane of my existence, which, by the way, PlayStation 5 is also somewhat, well, it's not actually region locked, I guess, but it is somewhat region locked because, like, if you have European stuff, you can't really buy stuff that maybe is only accessible on the US store. But I think with physical media, you can still use discs. Actually, I don't know if you can use discs from other regions anymore, but it's just something that, the 3DS was also region locked. So if you bought a cartridge in Japan, that cartridge wouldn't work on your European 3DS. But again, I don't know if the Switch was all, but it's like, anyway, this console is region locked to Japan. That's the idea. And it's selling roughly for $335. So it's like, so wait a minute. So over here we have it at 449, and then over here in Japan we have it at 335. Okay, that's quite a bit of margin. And I've seen people talk about, it's the tariffs. It's like, strangely enough, Donald Trump doesn't make the tariffs for Portugal, and we're also paying 469 euros, which is even more than you guys are paying on the US. So I don't know if the tariffs are involved in any way. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not a businessman. I'm just saying it's an expensive unit, okay? But then we have another situation, which is the thing that is really concerning to me, and that is that Nintendo is skyrocketing the prices up to $80. Now, a lot of people like to bring up, inflation, and it's like, yes, you're inflation, but at the same time, can we talk about the explosive growth of the gaming community, which gives, every single gaming company a much wider market that they can sell their goods to, and therefore maybe they don't need to increase the selling price of their games to $70 or even $80? Do we need to talk about how companies have been nickeling, diming us in terms of like microtransactions and all that stuff? Even though Nintendo I feel like is not really the worst offender in terms of microtransactions in games, but they do have a lot of accessories for their consoles and stuff like that. And their controllers are also very much on the high end of pricing, which I'm not exactly sure how much the Pro Controller costs, but I know that a new set of Joy-Cons is going to run you down another $90, which is absolute $90 for a set of Joy-Cons. We don't even know if these are like Hall effect or if they're still like the garbage technology that we have on a majority of console controllers, which is disgusting. We do know that there are some improvements in terms of like they have a wider range of motion with the analog sticks, which is very much welcomed because on the Switch we had the very small range of motion, which made it very frustrating to use. But regardless of that, it's pricey. And then the game is $80 for the digital version. Then if we go to the physical version of the game, it's going to cost $90. Although I did see it on sale at Walmart, I think, for $80. So I'm a little bit confused about that, but it's supposed to be $90 for the physical version. Then we also have the other game that they announced, which was Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is supposed to be $69 for the digital version and $79 for the retail version. So it's like the prices are all over the place, and this is clearly a grab at a new anchor for pricing, which is going to be $80. Now, the thing that we need to understand, what is going to be happening with this, is that if Nintendo goes through this, and everything indicates that they will, what is going to happen is right now you have Andrew Wilson from Electronic Arts, you have friggin' Yves Guillemot from Ubisoft. You have the people, whoever's in charge of Activision now. Oh, I guess it's Microsoft. So Microsoft would be the ones. And you have PlayStation. Everybody right now is rubbing their hands together going like, oh yeah, ooh, 80 bones, baby. We're going to make some money. And some people are going to defend this with inflation and all of that stuff. And it should have gone up years ago. But the reality is that the only reason this is going up is because there's going to be demand for it. And what do I mean by there's going to be demand? There's going to be people that are going to buy it. And it's not going to be, a small amount of people. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be buying it at this price. And you guys are like, well, what do you mean? Don't you see the reaction from the gaming community? And what people always seem to forget is that there is a large amount of people that plays video games, okay? And then you cut that large amount of people down to like a fourth or a fifth. And that's the amount of people that play video games. And actually interact with social media. Okay. And, then you can further segment that depending on the people that actually care about the prices and all of that stuff. Because inside the people that play video games and actually are on social media commentating on and engaging with gaming discourse and stuff like that, there's also a large percentage of those that are perfectly happy to pay whatever they're asked for. Like if Nintendo came out and said, yeah, Mario Kart World's actually $150, those people were like, yeah, guys, it's inflation. It was about time. They would be giving you the exact same spiel that they're giving you right now for the $80 price increase. Which, by the way, I already said I disagree with. There's a much bigger gaming audience that they can sell to. On top of that, there are better and more efficient game tools that kind of like streamline game development processes. And it's not my fault that a lot of these AAA companies are blatantly incompetent at managing the resources that they have. And that is what causes them to struggle with video game development, because if they had effective leadership, they wouldn't have these problems. This is none of my goddamn business. My goddamn business comes down to the bottom line of how much games cost. Okay? How much games cost, how much consoles cost, and how much I'm willing to spend. Now, once again, I want to make it perfectly clear that it's okay if you're like, no, but I'm going to buy it. I want to buy it. I want to play the game. I'm going to buy the console. I'm going to do the thing. That's fine. The one thing that I would ask of those people is like, can you not defend the practice, which is blatantly not needed, because they could have sold Mario Kart World at $60 and made absolutely obscene profit margins. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say that they can sell this game at $30 and they will still absolutely print more money than most people can ever even friggin' dream of, and they will make like more than enough profit to pay off all their shareholders and all of this whatever, and they will still like be raking it in. As a matter of fact, I would argue that there might even be a world where they sell it at $30 and they make even more money than selling it at $80, but I'm not, qualified to talk about all that. But I would make that argument that I think that that is a possibility. And it's just, this goes for not just Nintendo, but every single game company. They're going to keep driving these prices up, and it's going to be faster and faster, and the prices are going to go higher and higher as long as people continue to buy the video games. And I know that for this, a lot of people are going to point out, well, Rurikhan, aren't you going to cover the Nintendo Switch 2 and cover the games, and you're going to buy them and do all of this stuff? And here's the situation. It's my job to do that. It's a business expense for all purposes. Because you need to understand, when I buy video games for myself for personal consumption, I don't buy them at these prices, ever. Like this small collection that I've told you guys that I've amassed for the Nintendo Switch, 90% of those games were bought at like $30 or less. There were a couple of them that I bought at slightly higher prices because I couldn't find them any cheaper, because Nintendo never lowers the prices on their video games, physical copies in particular. Digital actually gets a fair share of discounts here and there. But yeah, for my own personal consumption, yeah, I would never buy this at $80. You're insane. If I wasn't making content around these things, I might not even buy the console at $449. I can wait. But that's the thing. Companies are going to manipulate people with FOMO, and then we also have the situation with scalpers that are going to be coming in, buying a bunch of systems and then selling them to you at $800, which, by the way, a lot of you will still buy scalped consoles, which we've definitely seen with the PlayStation 5. A bunch of people saying, yeah, I bought mine for $2,000. And you're just like sitting there, and why? That's just so dumb. Like, why? Because you can wait? Like, I need people to really take a look at their backlogs right now. I need you to, just turn around. You probably have a shelf of video games sitting right behind you. Turn around and see, okay, how many of these games have I not finished? Do you need to actually play Mario Kart World on release? Do you need to play Donkey Kong Bonanza on release? Do you need to even buy the console on release? Because I'm telling you right now, if not for making content about it and reporting on this thing, why? I got enough games to last me for over 10 years. Easy. I have a backlog that could last me for over 10 years. This isn't even like a flex or anything. I'm sure that a lot of us do. Why can't we just wait? But again, it is what it is. The market's going to do what the market's going to do, and that is consume. Because, like I explained that a little bit earlier, there's only a small portion of people that actually play video games, that actually consume social media, watch YouTube videos, hang out on X or Blue Sky, whatever is or Facebook, whatever happens to be your social platform of choice. And even within that group, there's a large percentage of people that are more than happy to pay 80, 100, 200, probably 300 for a video game. But it kind of sucks that we as a community are so divided and so concerned about, all of these things that are happening around the gaming space, but we never really band together to just not buy something. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Just some food for thought. And if you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, the dislike button. I understand. It's bad news. It is what it is. But anyways, in better news, I'm going to be streaming some Monster Hunter tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.